Yo, think this is going. I think this is going. Let's see, guys. Let us see. Let us see. With my laptop screaming. Man. Okay, I think we are live. Just want to make sure before I get headed started. Oh, shoot. Man. Yeah, I really do got to get a new laptop eventually. This boy is roaring. I hear it just overheating. But I want to start doing the live talks. I wonder if I can put something on it to make it cool down. Alright, let's see. Okay. Looks like we're live. It looks like we're live. It looks like we're live. It looks like we're live. I don't know, man. I mean, I hope it is. I hope y'all can see me. Ooh. Yo, this is real for me, man. I don't ever be going this deep into technology. Drinking one of these Horny Monks Petoskey Brewing. Cool. Wow, I'm trying to just make sure that this is good before I continue. So what I'm going to do is go into my other account. This is my first time ever streaming, guys. So just so you all know and understand. So bear with me, guys. Thank you. Just so you all understand. So bear with me. Alrighty, it seems like it's going good. I see it on there, so alrighty. The audio seems good. Just want to make sure. And if it is Gucci, we shall be on the road. Alright, I think this is good. Cool. Alright, guys, well, thank you for joining my first live stream. This is Drez Venture, Don Drezzy, whatever you like to call Drez Venture, where I am out here just trying to share more about my interests, share more about what I've been studying, what I'm into. So today, the topic is the Essene connection to Christianity. I was going to write some big monograph about it, and I still am probably going to, but I wanted to just share all of these thoughts I have, kind of put them together, and yeah, I hope that whoever is watching enjoys. So, literally, just it got to a point where I realized, like, I wanted to just get going on explaining this stuff, and I couldn't wait. I'm somebody that's been procrastinating a lot with things that I want to get going, and I realized that I just got to go. So I'm going to explain a lot of this, and if I have any time, I'm going to get into one of the books that I've been interested in. So let's see. So kind of essentially some context around what I'm going to be diving into today. It's the primary sources that I used to kind of explain to you guys. I'm going to go and deep dive in a couple different things. But Rudolf Steiner, R.S. Clymer, Ethan Allen Hitchcock, Albert Pike, the Bible, right? So those are some of the key primary sources that I look to as like the ultimate authority when it comes to topics such as this. Secondary sources, some sources that I've been getting more familiar and understanding would be like Essene.com and the works of Edmond Bordeaux Seaskelly and the Haran Gawita. The reason why Edmond Bordeaux really interests me is that his partner, Romain Roland, he's a Frenchman. I believe he was born in France. He died in France, but playwright, very artistic fellow. He died in Vézelay, and earlier this year I was in Vézelay, France, and that really interested me a lot. The connection between the two. I'd heard about Edmond before, and some other books that he had written, and now it's interesting to hear his take on the Essenes. As before, I kind of dismissed it, but now I've been a little bit more open into understanding. And the Haran Gawita is an interesting text by the Manichaeans, or how do you say it? And I'll get more into that. So essentially what I'm going to get into, who are the Essenes, the etymology between the Nazarene sect of the Essenes, its connection to Netzer and Kabbalah, like I said, the Manichaeans and the Essene connection, the Nazareans or the Nazareans, aspects within Christian and Jewish mysticism, as in Theoria and contemplative prayer, Philosophia, connections to Jesus, the Essenes, John the Baptist, cousins through all of that. I'm going to get into all of this. So I guess this is a great place to start. Before I get to very deep diving into the Essenes. So what is mysticism? Why should we strive to try to be a mystic, to try to, what is mysticism? So I guess, let's look up mysticism on Google. Let's see what the definition. Hildegard right here, beautiful. Belief that union with or absorption into the deity or absolute or the spiritual apprehension of knowledge inaccessible to the intellect may be obtained through contemplation and self-surrender. So I really like the contemplation and self-surrender aspect because of Christ. So primarily what I'm more interested in is the Christian mysticism. Obviously, my own interpretation of mysticism is learning how to have an experiential understanding and knowledge of the universe, not just through somebody else's words, me telling you this, but be able to use my words as a way, as like a seed to think and hold on to be able to essentially develop into something your own. Christian mysticism. Cool. Christian mysticism is the tradition or mystical practices within Christianity which concerns the preparation for the consciousness of and the effect of a direct and transformative presence of God or divine love. Until the 6th century, the practice of what is now called mysticism was referred to as the term contemplantio, theoria, from contemplatio, looking at, gazing at, being aware of God or the divine. Christianity took upon the use of both the Greek theoria, in Latin contemplatio, terminology to describe various forms of prayer and process of coming to know God. So you can go on to, the theoria, the mysticism behind that, what the etymology of mysticism is, and all of that. But I think when you get down to it, I think that is enough to really extract from all of this right here, right now, is that through our contemplation, through our trying to focus on God with our mind, it draws us closer to Him. And I say Him as this whatever. So becoming aware, contemplating God, trying to spend time with God mentally in our minds. And I think that the more we do that, we draw to ourselves the feeling, the peace, the love, all the other range of emotions that come from trying to connect with the divine. But I think the ultimate goal of the mystic is to try to contemplate and come to an understanding of God through the theosis. Yeah, so mysticism, in a very brief term, that's kind of how to describe it. Going onward, philosophy. What is philosophy? We look up philosophy, and the Wikipedia definition is philosophy is a systematic study of general and fundamental questions concerning topics like existence, reason, knowledge, values, mind, and language. It is a rational and critical inquiry that reflects on its own methods and assumptions. It's going to go on a lot of stuff. So this is what I like, the etymology behind philosophy. The word philosophy comes from the ancient Greek philios, love, and sophia, wisdom. And if any of you guys know, before I go into Sophia in Gnosticism is wisdom, the divine, feminine wisdom nature. So Sophia, the love of wisdom, the love of wisdom. So etymologically, it means the love of wisdom. Some sources claim that the term was coined by pre-Socratic philosopher Pythagoras, but is not certain. So we don't need to go into all of that. We know that now that philosophy means Sophia, the love of wisdom. We go into multiple different texts within the Bible. Let's say Proverbs 2. I like the NKJV. I like KJV, but let's just, for sake of understanding, the value of wisdom. Proverbs is all about, in Ecclesiastes, is all about talking about the value of wisdom and why a man should go to obtain it. And there's another verse that I read a few days ago, or a couple days ago, and it really was about, and it's in Proverbs somewhere, but just why wisdom is so important and why we should seek to obtain it. But Proverbs 2 is also matches at least a similar energy of it. And it says, "My son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding. Yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. He guards the paths of justice and preserves the way of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice, equity and good path, and every good path. When wisdom enters your heart and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion will preserve you. Understanding will keep you, to deliver you from the way of evil, from the man who speaks perverse things, from those who leave the path of uprightness, to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing evil and delight in the perversity of the wicked, whose ways are crooked, and who are device in their paths, to deliver you from immoral women, from the seductress who flatters with her words, who forsakes the companion of her youth, and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house leads down to death, and her path to the dead. None who go to her return, nor do they regain the paths of life. So you may walk in the way of goodness, and to keep the paths of righteousness. For the upright will dwell in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. but the wicked will be cut off from the earth, and the unfaithful will be uprooted from it. So you're the uprooting it, the getting cut, thrown in the fire, da 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 da. But wisdom. And there's another part. It's as valuable as silver. Let's see. Wisdom is more valuable than silver. Let's see if that pops up. Is it 3? Wow, what if that was 3 that I was looking for? So, it's okay, guys. I mean, I'm here, I'm chilling, so if you guys are chilling, chill with me. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep thy commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shalt thou add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine hearts. So thou shalt find in good understanding, find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not to thy own understanding. And always acknowledge him and direct thy paths. Yo, this is not it either, so it's okay. But anyways, it's just to show the value and the power of wisdom, right? Why we should try to essentially strive for wisdom, why it's important to try to find it. I think that it speaks a lot into all that Filio Sophia, and I'll also show you guys one other thing. So Sophia in Gnosticism. Sophia is a major theme with knowledge. Among many of the early Christian knowledge, theology is grouped by the Herologist, erroneous, whatever. Knowing are men that claim to have deeper wisdom. In Gnosticism, Sophia is a feminine figure analogous to the human soul, but simultaneously one of the feminine aspects of God. Gnostics held that the female divine twin of Aeon, Zygene of Jesus, the bride of Christ, the Holy Spirit of the Trinity. She is occasionally referred to by the Hebrew equivalent of Akamah, Chokmah, and as Pronikias. So Chokmah is a Sipharot, meaning wisdom, right? So wisdom, you have Sophia. You see Sophia, then it's on the direct pillar leading to Netzach, which we'll get to. But essentially, you can see that Sophia is this divine feminine nature, partially representing our soul, or the wisdom that is associated with the soul and the knowing of this experience. So hence Filio Sophia, the love of wisdom. As we'll get deeper into things, the understanding of the philosophers. We'll get into different of the spiritual text, but the key, I believe, to understanding the spiritual text of modern day is to understand the language of the philosophers. As you study Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, as you study all the other initiates and philosophers of the past, and you hear how they speak, you hear the terminologies they use, and then you go into rereading these sacred texts, your mind is open because you understand these concepts that the philosophers understood, and you see it as an integral part into understanding sacred literature in itself. So what is a priori knowledge? That's how I say it, at least. And I say all this as a preliminary to get into this subject because we have to use our mystic brain. We have to use our philosopher brain. We have to use a priori knowledge, which is knowledge that is acquired independently of any particular experience. Meaning we have to use our context clues to understand and bring things together to make some sense and understanding of the universe. Say a priori knowledge is knowledge that is not based on observation of the physical world. We weren't there 2,000-3,000 years ago. We weren't there 10,000 years ago. We weren't there 100 years ago, right? Most of us. But what we do know is that there were people that were. And there's people that are trustworthy sources that we can look to to acquire the knowledge of the ages. So that's why I'm very particular on the type of people that I look up to. So we're just gonna, I'm not gonna delete those, I guess, but I'll just put them a different color. I'll highlight them. So contemplation as a key to enlightenment. And then we're gonna get into a lot of the good stuff. Okay, guys? So we have one being theosis, and I'll go to the Christian mystic, or it might be an Eastern theology. So I love desert monks. I love I love monasteries, because I think that as time goes on, a lot of political stuff has happened within Christendom, and as that's happened, a lot of dogma, a lot of false doctrines have been promulgated that aren't necessarily what I believe to be the true foundational core of Christianity. And I think that monasteries are like a place stuck in time, or in the divine time, where these people devote their lives to understanding and contemplating the word. And I think that that's reflected in their deep, rich philosophies which they possess. So we'll start with contemplation, right? It says, in the religious context, the practice of contemplation seeks a direct awareness of the divine which transcends the intellect, often in accordance with prayer or meditation. The word contemplation is derived from the Latin contemplatio. Remember, we saw that earlier. Contemplatio. Ultimately from the Latin word templum, a piece of ground consecrated from the taking of auspices, or a building of worship. The latter either derives from the Proto-Indo-European root tem, to cut, or a notion of to place, to reserve, or to cut off, or from the root temp, to string, to attach. Religion is religament, to reattach, thus referring to a cleared, measured space in front of the altar. Greek philosophy. Contemplation was an important part of the philosophy of Plato. Plato thought that through contemplation the soul may ascend to knowledge of the form of good and other defined forms. But if we go on, you see it. A number of sources describe that the importance of contemplation in Jewish traditions, especially in Jewish meditation. Contemplation was central to the teaching of Jewish philosopher Maimonides, who taught that contemplating God involves recognizing moral perfection, and that one must interpret contemplation to attend to the poor. Christianity. In Eastern Christianity, contemplation, theoria, means to see God or have the vision of God, or to have the vision of God. The state of beholding God or union with God is known as theoria. The process of theosis, which leads to the state of union with God, known as theoria, is practiced in ascetic traditions, such as asceticism. Let's see. We see that in the Cloud of the Unknowing. We have multiple different people. St. Teresa, St. John the Cross, Magri. We have Thomas Merton. All who believe that contemplation is such an important key. And I think that plays very well into philosophy. Because if you think about philosophy in itself, the nature is the seed. You know, God says in the Bible that, know you not this parable, whatever you know or not. The word is the seed, right? So philosophy is words. So it's the seeds. It's the seed bank. We absorb, we take hold, we take root of these seeds. We hold it into ourselves. We meditate on it. We give it feeling and emotion, the waters, and then the heat of the spirit. And the more we start to contemplate on these words over time, they don't become just mere words. They're words that we trust and we believe in, and we hold it in ourselves in darkness. And as we nurture and grow it, we have this experience where it starts to seed and comes out of us. And then we nurture it more, and then eventually it becomes this fruit. So we have to understand the fruit of the philosophers and what it can bring to us if we truly can contemplate and think on the words that they have given us, which is the which is literally like the Philippians, or however you say it, the Philippians 4:8, which says, "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good rapport, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things." It's a very important concept. So now that we've gotten all of the preliminary of the mysticism, the philosophy, a priori knowledge, and contemplation and theoria, who the heck are the Essenes? And why do we care about them? Why do we care about the Essenes? Why do we care about any of this, right? Why did I make a whole live cast today about this? So before I get into my kind of primary sources, I want to go into just the Wikipedia definition, because I think Wikipedia is a great source, and I think that a lot of people razz on it, but I think it definitely gives you a lot of good of the surface level knowledge. So the Wikipedia definition of the Essenes is: the Essenes were a mystic Jewish sect during the Second Temple period that flourished between 2nd century BCE to the 1st century CE. The Essene movement likely originated as a distinct group among Jews during Jonathan Apphus' time, driven by disputes over Jewish law and the belief that Jonathan's high priesthood was illegitimate. Most scholars think that the Essenes seceded from the Zadokite priests. They saw themselves as the genuine remnant of Israel, upholding the true covenant with God, and attributed their interpretation of the Torah to the early leader, the teacher of righteousness. Was this Melchizedek? I don't know. Possibly a legitimate high priest, embracing a conservative approach to Jewish law, they observed the strict hierarchy favoring priests, the son of Zadok, over lay people, emphasized ritual purity and a dualistic whole view. According to Jewish writers Josephus and Philo, the Essenes numbered around 4,000 and resided in various settlements around Judea, notably known to be around the Dead Sea and places such as that. So we'll go deeper. And they say certain customs they have. They didn't sacrifice animals. All of that jazz. You go into Christianity, they talk about how there's very similar concepts. John the Baptist has also been argued to have been an Essene, and there are numerous parallels between John's mission and the Essenes, which suggests he perhaps was trained by the Essene community. As we'll see in a moment, we go to Mandeans, right? In the Haran Gawita, like I showed you, uses of the word, look at this, Nazareans, right? With an S, but then Nazarene uses a Z. So the Haran Gawita uses the name Nazareans for the Mandeans arriving from Jerusalem, meaning guardians or possessors of secret rights or knowledge. We can go deeper into that, but that's okay. We're going to click this, right? We say Nazareans. You see Nazareans. We're going to go into Nazareans, but Haran Gawita, right? You look at this. Haran Gawita, also known as the Scroll of Great Revelation, is a Mandean text which recounts the history of Mandeans and their arrival in Media as Nazareans from Jerusalem. So we'll get into what a Nazarene is, but let's go into Media real quick. What is Media? What is Media? Media is a region of northwestern Iran, best known for having the political and cultural base of the Medes. The Medes are important people as well. During the Achaemenian period, it was comprised of present-day Azerbaijan, Iranian Kurdistan, and western Tabaristan. However, the wars of Great Alexander the Great, So, whatever. There's this place, now we know it's in Persian origin. What do we know about Persians? Zoroastrian. So we go to the Medes, right? The Medes are also known as Media. I don't know if any of this is going to necessarily show who they are, so yes, they will. And I'm going to get into another book to confirm it for you. So religion. There are very limited sources confirming the religion of the Median people. Primary sources pointed to religious affiliations of Medes so far. Heter mentions Median Magi. Right? Magi. Who are the Magi? Are priests in Zoroastrian tradition. Classical historians unanimously regard the Magi as priests of the Zoroastrian faith, right? We go into the stuff like the Mithra, but let's show you this right here real quick before we go on. So we got The Way by Dowd, right? If you don't know who Dowd is, you should look him up. He is an extraordinary guy. Freeman B. Dowd, right? So The Way, a textbook for the student of Rosicrucian philosophy. I like this site a lot because you can look up the specifics of what you're trying to go into. Magi. I love that picture. I love that. Love the icon. Try. Randolph. So right here, we got The Way by Freeman B. Dowd. He says, introductory, the Magi. Magi is a name of the of a tribe of Medians. Oh, of a tribe of Medians. Wait. What is Median? What is Median? Media. Oh, okay. Home of the what? The let's see. I believe it's the Mandeans, the Medians, right? So right, we looked up that. So Magi is a name of the tribe of Medians, which, not unlike that of Levi among the Israelites, were set aside for the management of the sacred rites and for the preservation and propagation of the traditional knowledge. From the Medians, the institution of the Magi found its way. Under Cyrus into Persia, and here rose to the very highest importance, while at the same time they extended their sphere of action. They were now not only keepers of sacred things, the learned of the people, the philosophers, the philosophers, the lovers of wisdom, and servants of God, but also diviners, mantics, augurs. Oh, augurs, August, the Augusters, right? And astrologers. They called up the dead by lawful formulas, which were their exclusive possessions. Yata yata yata. The word magic means miracle working powers, and hence the Magi were a class of men who dealt with subtle spiritual or mental forces in contradiction of physical force. They were priests, rulers of kings and priests. It was useless to speculate about the origin of anything. All that exists develops from seeds. And although the seed is very minute, yet the fire of it is smaller still. In fact, it cannot be discovered. We'll go, it says the Magi grew from some seeds sown somewhere at some time. What did we just talk about, guys? Seeds, philosophy, the word, the cultivating and developing of it. It is unreasonable to suppose that Magi had their inception at the time when the sons of God saw the sons. Is it unreasonable to suppose that the Magi had interception at the time when the sons of God saw the daughters of men were fair and took them as wives? As in Genesis, we don't got to go into all of that. That's kind of going off of the rails. But nonetheless, right, we know about media. We know about, hey, think about media. What is media? Entertainment, television, YouTube Live, right? How do we use media? How do people enchant spells and cast magic on you through media? Right? When we understand the etymology of words, we understand what the nature of these different things are, what media is. Media is a form of enchantment, of magic on you. We don't gotta go, yeah. So, James, hold on, guys. My cat put my freaking... Alright, hold on a second. My cat freaking moved my charger, so I gotta redo this. Alright. The Nazarene Mandeans, like I said, the so before I go into the Nazarene sect, I'm going to go back to the Mandeans, right? The Mandeans, or however you say it. I'm just saying how I say it. So the Mandaism, also referred to as Nazarenism, is a Gnostic, monotheistic, and ethnic religion. Its adherents, the Mandeans, revere Adam, Abel, Seth, Enos, Noah, Shem, Aram, and especially John the Baptist. Right? That's very important. So, who was John Baptist? John Baptist was which I'll go into in the other text potentially. John the Baptist was an Essene. So you look in Matthew. What is it? Matthew 2. Ooh. The Magi visited the Messiah. The Magi. Who were the Magi? We talk about it, the Magi. Oh, look at this. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth. He shall be called a Nazarene. So that's not what it is. But we look up John the Baptist baptizing Jesus, right? Oh, so it's 3. It's Matthew 3, not 2. So Matthew 2 talks about the Magi, the tribe of Medians, the Manodians, the Nazareans, which went to Persia. They just traveled there. But their root was in the Essene tradition, right? So like I said, I like KJV, so we're going to go on KJV on this one. In those days came John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness of Judea, and saying, Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. For this is he that was spoken by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of the one crying in the wilderness, Prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. Not the man who had the spirit, but the water. Not the fire, but the water, right? And the same, John had raiments of camel's hair, clothes of camel's hair, and leathern girdle about his loins, leather belt. And the meat was, and his sustenance, his food was locust and wild honey. Then out went to him Jerusalem, and all Judea, and all the region round about Jordan, and were baptized of him in Jordan, confessing their sins. And when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, of snakes, serpents, right? The disobedient serpent, the disobedient energy. Who hath warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Bring forth, be therefore, fruits meet for repentance. And think not to say within yourselves, We have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you, that God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. And now also the axe is laid upon the root of the tree. Is therefore every tree which bringeth forth not good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. We also hear this about the wheat separating from the chaff, and the chaff getting thrown into the fire, right? Those who don't produce get thrown into the fire. He said, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance. The water is the understanding, the emotional feeling to know it's not right. To know you have to change your ways. And the Spirit, I believe, is the fire, and it's the living of that truth. So, but he cometh after me. But he said, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire. So you see, we have two different baptisms, the baptism of water and the baptism by fire. Whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor and gather his wheat into the garner, but he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. Then cometh Jesus from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized of him. So Jesus came to John to get baptized. But John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of thee, and thou comest to me? John said, I need to get baptized by you, Christ, but you come to me. Why? And Jesus answering said unto him, Suffer it to be so now, for thus it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. And then he suffered him. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were opened up unto him. And he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lightning upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. So there's a lot there. I don't know everything about what's all in there, but one thing that strikes me is Jesus getting baptized by John the Baptist. Now, why would Jesus, the Christ, the Christos, choose to get baptized by an Essenian man? None other than to show the people the way, to show people that Jesus aligns and harmonizes with the philosophy, the wisdom, the love of the wisdom of the Essenians. And I believe that considering that John the Baptist is of Essenian nature, considering that John the Baptist, right? Let's look at this. Look at the Bible family tree, right? See, we got Mary, or the other one. So we have then right here the Holy Spirit, Joseph and Mary. We have Elizabeth and Zachariah, and Salam and Zebedee. So what do we say? We have Jesus, son of Mary. We have John the Baptist, son of Zachariah. We have James and John the Apostle, the Revelator, son of Salome. Boom, boom, boom. Jesus is first cousins with John the Baptist. And Jesus is first cousins with also James and John. So Jesus is cousins with John the Baptist, James and John, most especially John the Baptist right here. John the Baptist is an Essenian leader. He was baptized by his cousin John the Baptist. Should we not assume that Jesus knew something about the Essenians? That he might have been a part of the Essenians? That he might have been a Nazarene, as he is the man of Nazareth? That leads me deeper into my understanding of what a Nazarene is, right? So Jesus, John, connection to the Essenes, we've basically gone through enough of that. We've basically gone through enough of that today. The Nazarenes were an early Jewish sect in the 1st century Judaism. The first use of the term is found in Act of the Apostles in Act 24:5, where the New Testament, where Paul is accused of being a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. So it doesn't really matter what translation you go into for this one. NIV. We have found this man to be a troublemaker, stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world. He is a ringleader of the Nazarene sect. Now, why would Paul be called a ringleader of the Nazarenes, right? Unless, why is it that the Essenes are never talked about in the New Testament? Because most of people associate the Nazarenes with, and the Essenes with, Christians. So that would be the most understandable reason why. We have Jesus the Nazarene, which I believe is the most literal translation of him. You have all these other things, the rite of the vows of the Nazarite, right? So you have the etymology, the Nazarene, the Nazarite. If you look at Nazarene, So essentially, what all the Nazarene were was just the Nazarene are a extension of the Essenes. They're just a group of the Essenes. And to be a Nazarene is to be a part of it. So the Nazarene, in definition, a holy man, native or resident of Nazareth, which I would more interpret as a follower or a member of the group of the Nazarenes, right? Alrighty. So we'll keep going. Nazarene sect. We'll close that out. Nazarene, the title. So multiple different places means to watch. You know, the person to watch. The branch says the traditional view is that the word derived from the Hebrew word for Nazareth or Nazara is in Nazara. What is Nazara? I love this in Hebrew. I don't know about Hebrew, but let's see. That's crazy. This stuff be taking so much power out of my battery. This don't even be charging. So hopefully it won't die. Let's not think like that, bro. In my charger, it's not I don't know. All right. So Nazara in the Quranic name means brilliance, radiance, to be glowing, happiness. So it says the traditional view is that the word is derived from the Hebrew. Oops, sorry guys. My bad, guys. Is the traditional view is that the word is derived from the Hebrew root Nazareth, Nazara, which was used in the ancient times. Nazareth, in turn, may be derived from either Natzar, means to watch, the watchman, or Netzor, meaning branch, right? So we're going to go back to Netzor in just 1 minute. But there's some good stuff on here. Netzor means the branch, to flower, to offshoot. Talks about in the verse of Isaiah. Says Jesus is a hidden name. Christ is a revealed name. Says the Nazar is the truth. The Nazarene is then the truth. Christ unreadable. The Nazarene and Jesus are they who have been measured. We talk about the Nazarenes again. Trying to see if there's anything worth mentioning in here for you guys. Same things we kind of went over. So right here. I like this. Netzer, right? Netzer. 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 Netzach. 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 The Sifra in Kabbalah. Eminence, everlasting, perpetuity is the seventh. Oh, how many days was the world created in 7 days, right? Oh, what is the number of Christianity? 7. There's so many different 7 spirits, 7 angels, 7, 7, 7. 7. Netzach, Nazarene. Nazareth. Netzach is the 7th of the 10th Sifra in the Jewish mysticism of Kabbalah. It is located beneath Chesed at the base of the pillar of mercy, which also consists of Chokmah, which talked about wisdom. Netzach generally translates to eternity, and in the context of Kabbalah refers to perpetuity, victory, or endurance, the ability to overcome all obstacles, adversaries, etc. So what is the planet that rules Netzach? It is Venus. 7, the number of completion. Venus, the planet of love, of the feminine and divine nature. We go deeper down into this. We won't need to go into all the Netzach and Kabbalism because that's a whole other thing. But
Netzach is endurance and patience and fortitude and the ability to follow through on your patience to follow through on your passions, right? It in the angelic order, Netzach is the Elohim, and the archangel, ruling archangel, which is Anael. And if you study and go into works such as John D, he has very intimate experiences with Anael. If you know about Elohim, Elohim, the Elohim, three, the Trinity, the pluralism of God in Genesis 1:1. The says God said, "Let there be light," and there's light, or whatever. Like God, or and whatever the first one is, God. God in the first Genesis 1:1 is Elohim. So I think that is very interesting. If you study the works, we'll go into that. So Netzach, thought that was very, very, very interesting. Talk about how Jesus is cousins with all of them in the family tree, which you just should definitely look into because that is an awesome thing. Alrighty, making good progress. And then I'll get into the text. So this is where it gets for real. For real, for real. So essentially, Nazarene is not Nazareth isn't necessarily a place, but it was a group of people and the communities they had and the strongholds of those communities, what later known to be was what in the future was known to be Nazareth, is what I believe. Nazareth to bloom. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. If you have this far, hit the subscribe button. If so, hit like. I'm doing this live right now. I'm going to be continuing doing live streams in the future, getting better at it. So hit me up for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, man. So this is other stuff. We don't necessarily need to get on to that. It doesn't really. It's not that deep. It is deep, but it's got into a lot of this, so it's just really good. So now we can get into the deep, deep stuff for those who, deeper stuff for those who really care. So boom, 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 boom. Already went through that. Alrighty, we could go through this together because while I have been going through it, it's a lot. Alright, so one of the sources for the Essene's connection to Christianity, which I really enjoy, is General Ethan Allen Hitchcock. Ethan Allen Hitchcock. Ethan Allen Hitchcock. Okay. He was a war general, or something of that nature. Let's see. Was a career. Ethan Allen Hitchcock was a career United States Army officer and author who had War Department assignments in Washington, D.C. during the American Civil War, which he served as a major general. So most people look at this man. He looks like a little. I'm not gonna cook him. He's amazing, but let's be real. What do you look when you see him? Think about a Fuddy Wuddy. Bless this dude. He's cool. He's really cool. Look at his works. Remarks upon Alchemy and the Alchemist. Swedenborg, a Hermetic philosopher. Christ the Spirit. Remarks on the sonnets of Shakespeare. He also talks about some cool stuff in, I believe, The Red Book of a Pen and 50 Years in Camp and Field, right? So not only was Ethan Allen Hitchcock a military badass, right? Going and fighting and living for his country, seeing what it's like to live on those front lines, to experience doing it for your country, for, you know what I mean, guys. Bless him. So not only was Ethan Allen Hitchcock known to be a army general, a military general, he also was known to be a alchemist, a occultist, a Rosicrucian per soul.org, this Fraternitatis Rosicrucius. And I will read you a portion of what it says about him in here. So, alchemical initiate, supreme hierophant, count blank of the world, member, great in world councils, member of the L'Ordre de Lys, which is Order of the Rose, I believe, or something of the nature. Member or Order of Life, I don't know. Member of the Order of the Rose. Ethan Allen Hitchcock was born at Vergennes, Vermont, on May 18, 1798. His father was a lawyer of reputation. His mother, a daughter of the famous Ethan Allen, after whom he was named. It is not our purpose to here deal with the youth, education, or military record of General Hitchcock, much of which has been interwoven throughout the volume in connection with the many other dramatis personae of the arcane drama. In truth, beginning with 1848 until his death, General Hitchcock, either as himself or under one of his philosophic initiate grand dome, under whether of Germany, France, England, or European countries are American, to the members of the Fraternitatis Rosicrucius, General Hitchcock was known and is known as one of its highest hermetic alchemical philosophic initiates, as one who obtained to the highest degree of arcane knowledge, not only sat in various councils of the world, but in the highest seat of the grand domes as Hierophant. Unknown. His word was law. When he entered the council or dome, it was his right to advance the altar, select a wand or sword, take his seat in the east, and call the council or dome to order. Names conferred upon him by the hierarchy was connected in one way or another with almost every activity. To the non-initiate reading public, he is best known by his work Alchemy and the Alchemist. When he freely offers the key to alchemy to all who can read and understand. Throughout the present work, the history of the Fraternitatis, according to the records in the archives, we have made him our official interpreter of the writings of the initiate alchemists. Since alchemy is the transmutation of the ignoble or the exalted into the exalted or pure gold, it is the work of the philosophic initiation. He must be dealt with the capacity even in the description of himself. Regrettably, there will be certainly unavoidable reputations. Let's see. I believe what he also, and it says down here as well. When in Washington, General Hitchcock was one of the leaders of what was then the most exclusive study center, the Rosicrucian Club in America. This gathering included many unknowns active in the departments of state, with Lincoln and Randolph, meaning Abraham Lincoln and P.B. Randolph, as members. The three composing of the American Council of Three, the Fraternitatis Rosicrucius, the club compared favorably with the Order of the Rose in English and L'Ordre de Lys of France, the Order of the Eagle of Russia, and the Order of the Double Eagle in Austria. As you can see, Ethan Allen Hitchcock was a very, very notable man that had a lot of authority in his space. So when we go into Christ's Spirit, this is what we shall find. And so I really love this, is that you can look into this, and it's very cool. And we'll try to get to all this, guys. It's so much. Honestly, we're not even getting Elohim, right? Horus, right? A lot of cool stuff within this, guys. Some of it's going to be in the monogram. I'm going to write up Nazareans. We got all that too. We've gone through so much today. It's not that necessary. We might go through some Steiner. This is all Steiner right here, right? This is Climber. This is Climber. This is Pike, Albert Pike, Philo, Christ Spirit. You know, we don't gotta go through every single thing. What essentially I'm here to show you is that it's out here. It's real, right? The Essenian connection to Freemasonry is, you know, we'll get to it. 9 things. So let's see. Section. That's the first section. 215. The word part. So it says the teachings of Christ. The teachings of Christ are and must be subjected to some principal rule. They can only be received in the world upon this principle. Remarks upon the doctrine of marriage, on the command to sell that thou hast and givest the poor and follow me, this command of Essenian origin. So he talks about how multiple of these commands that Jesus proclaimed are ones that the Essenians adhered to. The Gospels, probably Essene books of interpretation and edification. Christ, so it's again, he's acknowledging the fact that the Essenes, many of the fathers, probably Essenes, continued to interpret the scriptures allegorically, so not literally, but symbolically, but finally fell into a minority and disappeared from public view. I believe he said something about Mackey. This author is not a Mason, but studied the writings of Dr. Alfred Mackey. So it says, in acquaintance with the scriptures being thus assumed, I would ask next that the chapter of the Essenes as described by Philo and Jophius be not glanced at but carefully studied, and the Essenes, particularly the portions of them described by Philo under the name the Therapeutae. So if you look at it, it's the therapeutics, health, wellness, in his treatise on the contemplative life, which we will go a little bit deeper into. So just to show you that even the people, notably of that are supposed to have the highest authority on the subject of Rosicrucianism and all this or that are talking about the Essenes, talking about their involvement with things. We cannot distinguish their individuality. They stand, as it were, behind a screen almost impenetrable. We cannot distinguish their individuality, except that John shows a more speculative turn in mind than either of the others. They belong to a secret society with a secret which they were sworn not to cast before swine. What does it say? Do not throw your pearls before the swine, Jesus said, and not to give to the dogs. Here is the ground of the symbolic character of the 4 Gospels. Not so with St. Paul. He was not an Essene, but a convert from the Pharisees. He is a real person of flesh and blood and life, and perhaps more instructive than his doctrine. He's a real person of flesh and blood, and his life is probably more instructive than his doctrine. We're just going to go through all of this real quick. Origen speaks like an Essene, whether he was or not, and virtually tells us only in more open language. The flesh profits nothing. But the Essene doctrine was not lost. It has come down to the present time, and it can never be lost. For as often as it is buried under the letter or the form of the church, it will come forth again. So this is just to kind of show that Essenes were talked about. And here, sorry guys, it's a lot. It's my first live stream. Like I said, it's definitely a lot more to it than I really had imagined. But we going with it. We going. This is cool. This is real cool. Philo. However to say his name, right? 58 results, right? We gotta go into all of this to know. Boom, 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 boom. So boom, this is cool though. Who is Philo? Before we get into that, right? So you guys all know this. Philo of Alexandria was a Hellenistic Jewish philosopher, right? If you know about time eras, the Hellenistic era was definitely a great era for a lot of profound beliefs. Yeah, he was just an extremely smart guy, left a lot of exemplary works. So if you see right in here, commentary on the treaty. Okay. It would be harsh if even possible to take the words, take Philo's words in the following sense: having treated those who have seen, having treated of those of the Essenes who are zealous for an active life, I will now proceed to say what is meet about those of also the Essenes who embraced contemplation. So we talked about contemplation as a means to enlightenment. The Essenes were zealous for this; they embraced it. Philo contrasts the Essenes and the Therapeutae as representatives of the practical and contemplative life, meaning that to think on these things. Go right here. Josephus, the Essene, resembled the Pythagoreans. The early Christians, on the other hand, like the Essenes, gave up their property to the officers or bishops of their new religious communion, which they had joined. So we don't gotta go into all this, right? We can understand that the Essenes were talked about. The Essenes were real. The Essenes were talked about. Man, I already know this stuff is gonna go on a whole other tangent with the Steiner, because Steiner is just a next level guy. The same Zatros or Nazareos, the Magi. So you see, it's similar concepts. He just takes it to a whole nother level. See the names of these peoples. Netzer, let's talk about the Kabbalah. So he's gonna bring in some mysticalness that's gonna elevate and bring it to an understanding, which is on another level, which is beautiful. That's what we need. We need people who are going to be able to help us understand on that level. So this is next one. We're getting to morals and dogma, right? Before we get into the ones that are on this chapter, on this degree, the Knight of the East and West, which is number 17. I want to go into the 24th, which is the Prince of the Tabernacle, part of the Council of Kadash. And page 385, Albert Pike says, the trials of the Eleusinian initiation, which is Greek, with the Dionysus, were not so terrible, but they were severe, and the suspense above all in which the aspirant was kept for several years, the memory of which is retained in masonry by the ages of those of different degrees, or the interval between admission to the inferior and the initiation of the great mysteries, was a species of torture to the curiosity which it was desired to excite. Thus the Egyptian priest tried Pythagoras before admitting him to know the secrets of the sacred sciences. He succeeded by his incredible patience and the courage with which he surmounted all obstacles. In obtaining admission to their society and receiving their lessons among the Jews, the Essenes admitted none among them until they had passed the test or several degrees, similar to Masonry. By initiation, those who were fellow citizens only became brothers connected by a closer bond than before by means of a religious fraternity, which, bringing men nearer together, united them more strongly, and the weak and the poor could more readily appeal for assistance to the powerful and the wealthy, with whom religious association gave them a closer fellowship. The initiate was regarded as the favorite of gods. For him alone heaven opened its treasures. Fortunate during life, he could, by virtue and the favor of heaven, promise himself after death an eternal felicity. So that was one quote by Pikestar. We go in here. It says, we come to the Essenes and the Therapeutes, whom degree this is particularly concerned. The intermingling of Oriental and Occidental rites, of Persian and Pythagorean opinions, which we have pointed out in the Doctrines of Philo, is unmistakable in the creeds of these two sects. So we go deeper into it. The Therapeutes reside in Egypt, neighbors of Alexandria, the Essenes in Palestine, in the vicinity of the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea Scrolls and all of that, which we have coming out nowadays. Very similar to the Orphics, the Pythagoreans, the Kabbalists, the Gnostics, and so on. And it is a significant fact that while Christ spoke often of the Pharisees and Sadducees, he never once mentions the Essenes. between whose doctrines and his there were so great a resemblance, and in many points so perfectly an identity. Indeed, they are not named, nor even distinctly alluded to anywhere in the New Testament. Maybe because they were the ones who wrote the New Testament. John, the son of a priest who ministered in the temple of Jerusalem, and whose mother of the family was Haran, in the deserts and was in the deserts until the day of his showing unto Israel. He neither drank wine nor strong drink, and all of this stuff. He preached in the desert and therefore in the country where the Essenes lived, professing the same doctrine. So we talked about Jesus and John were cousins. He got baptized by John, demonstrating that he was aligning with the Essenian doctrines. All right, James saying, let's get it going, brother. Let's get it going. Close it up soon. We almost there, guys. About 14 minutes. 14 minutes. 14. Appreciate you guys. My first live stream. Show me some love after this, guys. You're still watching. Show me some love. Wow, it is hard to keep my attention. I love this stuff. For this long, it is hard to keep my attention. All right. The Wandering Jew. Let's go. Let's see. Said this faith taught by John and so nearly Christianity could have been nothing but the doctrines of the Essenes, and there could be no doubt that John belonged to this sect, the place where he preached his macerations and frugal diet. The doctrines he taught all prove it conclusively. There is no other sect to which he could have belonged, certainly none so numerous as his except the Essenes. So we see in so many different things. There's degrees like masonry. They wore lambskin garments. I don't know where to find that right now, but I know that is the truth. I know where it's at. It's in this book, but I have it in my upstairs. The Essenes were of eclectic sect of philosopher and held Plato in the highest esteem. A what? A philosopher, a lover of the wisdom. They believed that true philosophy, the greatest and most salutary gift of God to mortals, was scattered in various portions through all different sects, and that it was consequently the duty of every wise man, every magi, to gather it from all quarters where it would lay dispersed, and to employ it thus reunited in destroying the dominion of impiety and vice. We see this in with the Tower of Babel. We see this in God separating the nations of Israel or Judea or whatever and saying, hey, I'm going to split you guys all up, and one day you guys will all come back together again. The writings of the Essenes were full of mysticism, parables, enigmas, and allegories, similar to what? The New Testament. They believed that esoteric and exoteric meanings of the scriptures, and as I already said, they had warrant for that in the scriptures as well. They found it in the Old Testament as the Gnostics found it in the New Testament. The Christian writers and even Christ himself recognized it as the truth that all scriptures had an inner and outer meaning that, and that's the whole other. So we talk about it, right? Talk about how the Essenes are connected to the Kabbalists. We see how they're connected to the Dead Sea. We see how they're connected to St. John the Baptist. We see how therapeutics are the healers, right? All this is in Morals and Dogma. We can move on from it, right? I don't really want to go into this because it's kind of just going to reiterate a lot of stuff about how Jesus was a part of the Nazarenes, which, if you want to go study the Fifth Gospel by Steiner. But this is, these two are probably going to be they are the last two sources, which I am going to go through, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate you. My cat is like wanting so much attention right now. I'm like, all right, hey, I'm gonna give you attention. Just give me a minute, bro. Just give me a minute. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'm getting tired. Wow, this is tiring. Sorry, the secret schools. This is by Clymer. These two are by Clymer. The Egyptian, Essenes, Gnostics, Manichaeans, and etc. all had their own secret organizations and methods of teaching and training. A few of these continued to exist to the present day, observing all the ancient landmarks, remaining true to the original intent and purpose. Many of these members of these authentic organizations have advanced far in the attainment of high powers and spiritual insight and toward the goal of which is initiation, or what some prefer to call the attainment of soul illumination. Probably the most extensive of the secret schools with an all-inclusive philosophy and system of the culture and training was that of the Gnostics. So, if we go deeper, and this is The Initiates and the People, Volume 5 by Clymer, I believe. The Essenes, right here. So it says, of all the secret fraternities, the Essenes are probably the best known, and this is because of their connection with Jesus and his mission. It is generally conceded by students of the mysteries and involved history that he was trained for his life by this brotherhood. The known philosophy of Essenes was practically identical with that taught by Jesus of Nazareth and the great American mystic General Ethan Allen Hitchcock, which stated that the New Testament, at least in part, was written by members of the school. Like all members of the secret school, the Essenes were sworn to keep their doctrines secret from the profane, to communicate them to none outside of their community, like the Hermetics of Egypt, were permitted to write only in secret symbols. Hence why you see alchemy and all of these weird symbols that, the everyday person can't understand. As a buddy told me today, which I really like the saying, you can push the door so hard, as hard as you want, but it will never open without the key. And the key is only given to the neophytes and the initiates within the mystery schools and the secret initiate schools that have been ordained by God throughout time. It says, the Essenes did not worship a personal divinity, not even after the time of Jesus, but they did pay homage to the Christos, known as the good principle or the soul. This was true also of the Coptic Christians and also primitive Christians. So you look at the early Christians and what they believed in, and it was the idea of the Christos, which we'll get into in another video. And the Essenes were ascetics. Admission to their ranks was permitted only after strict novitiate, or navate, during which the novice passed through 2 degrees of development covering a period of 3 years. The probationary period of the first degree lasted 12 months. On entering the fraternity, the candidate resigned all his property in common benefit of the community or brotherhood for the community. At the end of the probationary period of a year, the novice was advanced to the 2nd degree, that of approacher, and remained in it for 2 years. He was permitted to join in the lustrations, but in no other privileges. The 2nd stage of training goes on and so forth. And there's some cool little side notes about that. The Essenes had sacred colleges along the Dead Sea, in Egypt and Asia and Syria. The members mingled with the general population, acting in a dual capacity of spiritual advisors to the soul and physicians to the body. So they're physicians, they're healers, the spiritual priests, thus fulfilling the complete office of the high priest of God. Their daily regimen was simple. They rose at dawn and bathed. They followed prayers for preservation and enlightenment for the day, after which, under the guidance of a selected member, they proceeded to labor until 11 o'clock in the apartments in which they were severally were skilled. They then again bathed in cold water, donned white clothing, white aprons, and repaired to the refectory, where a simple fare was placed before them. The Therapeutae, you see right here, authorities, they're connected with the Orphics, which says the Fraternitatis Rosicrucius follows the plan of the Essenes, having 3 distinct degrees. It is the philosophy and training, however, is rather that of the Gnostics. You go in here, it says, so the Orphites, all of these, they're all very similar, connected. The Divine Sophia, like I said, Philia Sophia, says the sect that the Nazarene belonged to, the Essenes, learned it from the So it says, it's just people will call these philosophies heathen and da-da-da-da-da. But the things that Jesus himself learned from was from this. All these people, some way connected. That's what we need to understand by all of this, and how there's a root from Essenes to Christianity, but also Essenes to multiple other religions, which really helps to build a branch or a stepping stone, I feel like, to understand that. It says the Rosicrucians do not regard the death of Jesus on the cross as a substitutory sacrifice for the sins of humanity made in order to propagate perpetuate a angry God, such as monstrous teachings, is not in accord with either of the teachings of the Essenes. It's just that he showed us the way. He showed us a means to an end. And let me get into this last one, guys, because I'm really getting tired. I'm not gonna lie. There remained, this is the philosophy of fire. At the beginning of the Christian era, the mysteries were known only to the initiates and priests. The masses were in ignorance as to their very existence. There remained at the time the Essenian orders, as well as the Gnostics, the latter inner circle of the Essenes. The Therapeutae of Alexandria was merely another name for a branch of the Essene fraternity. Today, the order of men, then known as the Essenes, is termed the Rosy Cross, which is very interesting because I truly do believe that the modern day equivalent of what the Essenians were today are the Rosicrucians. There never has been in the slightest interpretation of the secret interruption of the secret fraternity, meaning that it's always constantly been in works. It has many times changed the name since its foundation, but the instructions remain the same. Thus, these orders were derived from the Christian mysteries preserved in the secret archives of the great schools, only known to the initiates of the higher degrees. It says again, by Clymer, the doctrine of emanations is the key to the philosophy of the Gnostics and the Essene sects, by which the early Christians derived their mysteries. Philosophy, philosophy, philosophy. These things were taught by the Essenes. The soul is reincarnated many times. I'm giving you guys a crash course right here, right? Obviously, there's a lot more to this. It gets very intricate. Essentially, just very much reiterating the same fact that the Essenes are just a very, very, very connected part of this whole thing. And that's, if anything, that's really what I really wanted you guys to get out of this talk. 9 o'clock, it's 2 minutes, so I'm going to be wrapping it up in just a moment. Seeing if I can get anything else that really just hits home real fast before I just kind of say some closing things. It says the fire philosophers, or Philosophie per ignem, the lovers of the wisdom of fire, were known throughout every country of Europe, and declared that the intimate Essenes or natural things were only to be known by the trying effects of fire directed in a chemical process, the experiential knowing, the knowledge, right? Something probably to do with Paracelsus. Alright, guys. Look into this book because it is so great. There's so much in philosophy of fire, and I might just have to go through it myself another day, but there's just so much in here that I can't go through it all in one day. So look into it. This is going to be the last one I'm going to look into this page. So, woo! I'm so happy I did this stuff. It's good. I needed to. Alright, talking about how Dionysians, Eleusinians, they're all connected, right? Rosicrucians. So, guys, it's been real. Essentially, what I want you to get out of tonight is that the Rosicrucians, the Nazarenes, Netzach, all of this, it's very important to understanding modern day Christianity. And if you really think about it, and just right here, this is a great one to end on. Including, so it says the Gymnosophists, the Cadassians, the Essenes, the Therapeutae, The Dionysians, the Eleusinians, the Pythagoreans, the Chaldeans were in reality all an order of religionists who combined in their religion both philosophy and mysticism, including among them those who were not, in fact, the heads of the society. Nor must it be forgotten the Masons of the present day have been time to time termed Antichrist because they do not give Jesus any place in their precepts or ceremonies. Therefore, this modern order is under the ban of certain religious sects, especially those of the evangelical and Methodist persuasions. As my buddy told me today, the reason why Masonry, it's similar, we talk about, as Masons, we talk about the light and the philosophy of the light, but not the light bearer. And that is the thing why people think Masonry is satanic, is that we talk about the light and the teachings that Jesus brought to the world, but we do not glorify him as the man. I'm going to end with that, though. So again, it's been really cool. I hope that throughout this talk you've been able to get some sort of ping from the universe. If so, please drop a like, drop a comment of what that was, because I would love to hear as we go move forward with all of this. But yeah, this is Dres Venture. Appreciate y'all. Signing out. Peace out, brothers and sisters.